It's 10 o'clock, and this is Fox 10 Talks. There have been so many new developments this morning in the case of missing Nancy Guthrie that we want to bring you up to speed on all of those developments. Of course, one of the questions this morning that so many people are asking is, what happened 3 weeks before that fateful night in Tucson when she was abducted from her own home? There is now a new focus, believe it or not, on January 11th, 3 weeks before the night that she went missing. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to punch up my camera right now. I'm Ron Hoon, and thank you for joining us for Fox 10 Talks. If you've just discovered us, we come out of Phoenix, Arizona, but we have reporters every day now covering this story in Tucson. Literally, we're shuttling our reporters back and forth each and every day. And coming up in about 60 seconds, we are going to check in with our Danielle Miller. Why is there a focus on January 11th now? We're also going to have a retired Phoenix police lieutenant who is now a criminologist. He's standing by as well with really interesting perspective on that. And also, I should mention, brand new video just coming in from Savannah Guthrie. And this one is, it tugs at the heartstrings, that's for sure. I'm going to punch up the poll question now. It's not working. But our poll question has to do with the announcement earlier this morning that ICE surge is over in Minneapolis. Already 1,000 votes. And you can see some of the options there. So hop onto YouTube. Well, you're probably already on YouTube. But you can see 52% saying that whole surge was a disaster. 42%, though, saying, think the surge worked. There were a lot of arrests, and I agree with Trump's call. It's time to wind it down. All right, so let's get you the very latest now. Our Danielle Miller is joining us on the phone as she returns from Tucson. She's been down there since early this morning. Danielle, as you've been reporting for us this morning, what are the kind of the big headlines that you're seeing after a day of reporting from Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood?
Yeah, good morning, Ron. Good morning, everyone. The latest development and some of the most movement we've seen in front of Nancy Guthrie's home happened today right around 8:15 or so. There were two unmarked vehicles that pulled into the driveway. Several people got out of those vehicles. They grabbed some things from the back of one of the SUVs there. It looked like some equipment. And they went to the front door of Nancy Guthrie. They quickly set up a white tent and completely blocked it off. So we're not sure exactly what they were doing behind that tent there, but we do know that this is some of the most activity that we've seen. I've been in front of Nancy's home every day so far this week, and it's been pretty quiet outside of the media. There has been a deputy from the Pinal County Sheriff's Department posted out there, which is very typical. That's something that they're going to be doing for the remainder of the investigation. So when we saw these two unmarked SUVs pull up into the driveway very quickly, all of us were just like, wow, what is going on? And it was just movement that we haven't seen so far. Once they set up the tent, they were there right around an hour or so. The tent quickly came down. We saw them carrying a bunch of equipment, some type of evidence or something in the tent as well, all of their equipment, put it back in their vehicles and quickly drove off. Once again, these were unmarked, not sure if these people were with the FBI, not sure if they were with the Sheriff's Department. We were able to zoom in on some of their equipment, and we tracked from what we saw on that equipment back to the FBI, but that has not been confirmed if that is who or what agency these folks were with. So still working to get that information. We did ask them there on scene, hey guys, who are you guys with? What department? And they were very tight-lipped. Nobody answered any type of questions out there. So it did appear that they were really focusing on that front door, which we know is where all of the evidence so far that we are aware of has come from. We have the surveillance video. We have the surveillance pictures. We have Nancy's blood on the front door. We also have the shrubs that potential suspects grabbed from the front door. They were sitting there as well. So that is the main focal point. Not exactly sure what exactly they were trying to get, what type of evidence. So still working to get that information, Ron.
Did you hear any discussion when you were out there? Because I know reporters have a chance to talk. When it came out earlier this morning that they want everyone in the neighborhood to share video they might have from 3 weeks ago, January 11th. That, to me, that really indicates they are honing in on maybe certain vehicles and certain dates that might backdate to weeks ago.
Absolutely. And I think, at this point, we're, 12 days out, I think they're really just trying to get any information they potentially can. But we have seen a lot of movement, especially around Nancy's home. We saw that they found a black glove, about 1.5 miles away. We saw FBI agents kind of combing the area, walking on foot, going through the desert landscape. We also know there's been a lot of movement around the daughter's home as well. Neighbors have reached out and said they were looking inside my home, around my home. So it seems the two focal points are the daughter's house right now, the area surrounding that, and Nancy's house, of course, and that surrounding area as well.
All right, Danielle. And so, yeah, we see all of these developments. And by the way, this video that sure has people talking this morning. Danielle, thank you for your reporting.
Thank you, Danielle.
Syleste joins us well. Syleste, when Savannah this morning went onto her social and posted these beautiful pictures of her young mother with she and her sister, it is... I'm not saying that it changes the tone at all of anything that's been going on, but to have her now reflecting on a beautiful life lived with her mother there at that home in Tucson, it's pretty emotional.
I think so too. And I'm sure there, obviously, she says, thank you in the post. She says, thank you for everyone's thoughts and prayers. And they're holding hope that mom will be returned. But, they're patiently, I guess, waiting as much as they can for any new developments that may surface. Interesting, Ron, we just chatted with TMZ this morning as well, and they have a new piece of video that they have received of someone with a backpack that looked similar about 5 miles away. There's like a Nest or Ring camera of somebody committing a burglary in a neighborhood there in Tucson. And so you have these little pieces of information that are starting to trickle in a little bit. When earlier this week it was very quiet, I think, and now you're starting to see the developments. Danielle mentioned that tent with the, officials there putting up near the front door. You have this video TMZ's received. You had the talk about the Bitcoin yesterday, the glove, all these little bits and pieces. And I think more people hopefully will call in.
Yeah. And 18,000 tips, of which thousands are new just in the last 48 hours. They've got so much work ahead of them, but it looks like they're making progress.
Yes.
We are going to bring to you right now via Zoom, those of you who've lived in the Valley a long time will certainly remember this name. It's Jeff Halstead, retired Fort Worth police chief, but you remember him, no doubt, during his many years with the Phoenix Police Department as a lieutenant. And so I don't know whether to call you chief or lieutenant, but Jeff, thank you for joining us today.
Good morning.
Good morning, Syleste and Ron. And Ron, let's just keep it Jeff. I'll keep my blood pressure really, really low.
You got a deal for sure. There have been so many headlines coming in this morning. They're focused on something that may have happened in that neighborhood 3 weeks ago, almost to the hour when the time that Nancy went missing. We've got Savannah releasing new video. Of course, there's all the talk now about gloves being found. Where do you want to start?
All right, let's start with the investigative process. So there's been a lot of questions about the delay in the video getting released. This is not an intentional delay by any means. Law enforcement is sometimes restricted from getting quality data from these older pieces of technologies, or working with our tech partners in order for us to get it. Now, remember, it has to go through a specific systematic screening for relevancy and for inclusion as evidentiary in nature. So that takes time. As soon as they got it, they released it, with the strategic mission of generating more public leads. Because Ron and Syleste, as you all know, in the Valley, our most high-profile crimes were solved from public tips.
Mhm.
And it's absolutely imperative that our media partners are working directly side by side, and you are. But now there are going to be systematic and strategic releases of more information as they start honing in to the time, possibly a vehicle, and possibly an area. And they're going to generate some great tips from that.
You know, Jeff, there is, they put the tent up near the front door this morning, and some unmarked vehicles drove up, set up the tents. You can't see that front patio area anymore. Can you give us any idea of what they're looking for, or what they could be looking for in this type of a case?
Well, the majority of times when the media or the public sees that type of intent, it's to cover a disturbing area of a crime scene. That's not the case here. However, they want privacy for items and probably investigative tools they're going to be using, not just at the entry stoop and the tiles, but also the door, the frame, and beyond. Because you got to remember that little area right there of their entry, you can see, even though they have that security screen door, you can still see some movement. They want to protect that, secure it, so it's not released as to what they're doing, how they're doing it, and then it will come out later why they did it.
Now, maybe you could lift the curtain for us just a little bit in terms of how, when you have a case that is this high profile, and you're right, boy, we had some here around the kind of the turn of the century back here in the Valley, many of them. But when you have literally thousands of leads to try to get through, how do you set that process up, and where do you suppose they are right now with 18,000 tips coming in? Do you think they're in the first inning, the third inning, or where do you suppose?
Well, so they literally have an entire task force that is doing nothing but getting this information, the tips, the data, and the qualitative information that are in these tips, and then they will categorize them. They might have a stream of tips on vehicle, a stream of tips on possible persons, leads, or suspicious things they saw 3 to 4 weeks ago. So then they start categorizing, and then based upon the progress of the investigation, the most applicable realm of these types of tips will then get a deeper dive. But all of the crime analysts, the call takers, and these investigators that are screening the tips are placing them in a priority status based upon some of those measurable areas that would be of concern moving the investigation forward. But I can say, both from experience and from what I've seen in the news and the updates, the FBI is doing a fantastic job, and they are really getting concentric as to what they need now.
Okay, we're up against a break. We want to get your take on the video, the doorbell video, but can you hang with us through the break?
Yeah, I can hang with you. Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll be right back.
All right, welcome back, everyone. 10:15 now, looking at a very snowy scene. So we're going to tackle the mystery cam at about 10:30, give you plenty of time to make your guesses. By the way, if you're watching on television on our Fox Local app, you can go to our YouTube page, click on the live menu option, and you can join us right here on YouTube. And that's how you join our chat that you see off to the right. We love the fact that so many of you hang with us every single day, and we're glad that you're here.
Yep, we are going to continue our conversation now with a name familiar to you if you've lived in the Valley for a long time. High-ranking lieutenant with Phoenix Police for many years, Jeff Halstead, who, by the way, then went on. He's joining us from Texas, where he became chief of police there in Fort Worth. So, yeah, Celeste, let's continue the conversation.
Let's do it. Jeff, we're going to pop up the video here as well of that, the doorbell or Nest camera. What is this video kind of, what does it tell you as, any clues that you can give us here this morning?
A couple of things that are very important. When the suspect is initially coming up to that archway, you immediately see their head dip and look down to conceal, even though they have a ski mask on, they're concealing their identity. So they probably had advanced knowledge of that camera being there because it was instantaneous. The second one is definitely not a professional. The manner in which they're carrying the holster is not even made for that weapon, but also there are specific identifiers. And I know a lot has been talked about the backpack, but these are absolutely critical. What's going to come next is probably a sizing profile from the FBI or some of their crime analysts. They're going to get an estimation on shoe size, height, and weight, and some other build perspectives. And then I wouldn't be surprised if the tips start slowing down when they start taking an AI assessment of the ski mask and some of the different eye and mouth shapes. They can come up with some kind of a draft or a sketch of potential suspects. A lot more is going to come from that video.
Yeah, we've had experts come on, and various ones have given their opinion as to whether or not it looked like a professional job. But I don't want to call the guy bumbling, but just the fact that he came up and tried to put a plant or some leaves up against the camera, it makes you wonder, what did he have in his backpack? What was he planning? I mean, he obviously didn't even bring any tape to cover up the camera in the first few seconds.
Well, not just that, but Jeff, he spent a considerable amount of time inside the house. I think when you look at the timeline in terms of when they may have left the home.
Oh, the timeline is what bothers me the most, only from a career of working some of the most heinous investigations you could ever imagine. Many times when a property crime suspect or someone that's trying to, even if it's a home invasion, they're going in with a weapon, when they are startled by a resident, or they're surprised that someone's really there when they didn't think they were there, sometimes bad things happen. And I think it could be a delay of the suspect realizing they just did something extremely bad, or a burglary turned into something way worse. And I think they were assessing their alternatives, and that's what took so long. They're not the smartest people in the world. We've had suspects leave cigarette butts, chewing gum, drink from cups in the house, and we got their DNA and got full confessions immediately. So they're not the brightest in the world, but I think the entry, the startling surprise that someone's there, and then what happened in that 41 to 42 minutes?
Yeah.
It's definitely concerning to me, and as well as the investigators.
So you're leaning toward that it wasn't a planned kidnapping and it was more possibly some sort of home invasion or burglary gone wrong?
I think if it was a planned kidnapping where the motive was going to be get them as soon as possible and initiate the demands for ransom, it would have been way faster, and they would have never went to TMZ or some other way of trying to demand money. And they would have definitely given proof of life very, very quickly. Otherwise, it sounds like it's bogus. So,
Wow.
And also with many of the intentional kidnappings, it's not just one person. Remember, she could not move as fast as probably kidnappers would want her to move. There would probably be 2 or 3, a driver and then 2 plus to carry her out. I didn't see that happening on any of the devices so far that's been released.
You know, you brought up AI. That is what a lot of people are saying. That's really what's going to help crack the case. I mean, obviously, you mentioned the leads, the phone calls, the tips from the public are really important. That's a big part of police work these days, right? I mean, using technology to help crack cases.
It is, and more than likely, the suspect had a piece of technology with them, with their smartphone. There's going to be triangulation of different devices, and there's going to be other things. They might have had a vehicle that had some smart devices inside the vehicle. Some vehicles have Wi-Fi setups and things like that. So there is a multitude of technology options for the investigators to move forward. But I've been very, very impressed with the strategic release of quality information. So our media partners have the ability to engage the public. And that's exactly what happened. And that's what's going to get this case solved.
Let's talk about the glove that was found yesterday. There'd been reports of one glove, possibly a second glove. In your kind of study of crime annals, and you've already said they're not the sharpest tools in the shed, would somebody have simply thrown his gloves a few miles away, just tossed them out the window? Depending on, the state of the person that they may or may not have taken?
Yes, that is very likely. You got to remember the distance, it's a mile and a half. So now it's a few minutes after they're leaving the residence. And honestly, the majority of criminals, they have a criminal mindset. And the minute the crime's done, they go back to their normal mindset. And they probably took off the glove to work a smartphone, to work something in their car, to work something that had a touch control. There is a possibility that they simply just discarded this outside the driver's window. The suspect looked right-handed, so they probably grabbed their phone and wanted to make sure they didn't miss anything. This has happened before. The challenge is in these videos, it looks like it is a very, very thick glove and not your normal black protective glove that's used in a host of professional services such as restaurant work, yard work, mechanic work, and things like that. However, there is a possibility that the suspect did discard that because they're far away from the residence.
So, Jeff, we have a question in the chat for you. Buddha Sheep says, how do we know how long they were at the house? How did the timeline get established that they were in the house for 40 plus minutes?
Yeah, that would be great releases, both from Pima County Sheriff as well as the FBI, on the technology systems at the residence, such as the garage door opening, the garage door closing, and then when the doorbell camera was removed, disconnecting it from the server, as well as the other like smartwatch and the pacemaker connectivity. So that gives them a great qualitative timeline that is backed by technology. And these technologies all have the U.S. timestamps on them for the exact time measure. So they can get very, very specific on that time frame. But that's a great question.
There is a lot of people who say, okay, we believe maybe this wasn't just a one-person job. There were other people involved. Is there any way to tell from kind of just hearing some of the bits of information that are coming through? I think one of our reporters out on scene said the back door was open, and then you have this situation at the front door. Do we know, or how can you tell whether or not there could have been more people involved?
Well, that would be on the interior camera perspective, and then an assessment of the crime scene for the exterior, looking at various footprints. But keeping in mind, they have to now exclude any service personnel, people that clean the pool, trim the bushes and things like that. So they have to look at different aspects of this. This is very typical. We're not releasing any secrets about this. That is just standard investigative and routine police work. With that said, right now, it looks like this could be a lone operative. Many, many times when there's more than one, someone's heart is going to get soft in the other suspect and they're going to snitch. That hasn't happened yet to the best of my knowledge or from anything that I've seen. But in these heartfelt images, that's going to turn your softer suspects into snitching and trying to become a state's witness and get out of this investigation. And then they'll turn on the lead suspect.
Totally fascinating. Yeah. All right, Jeff, we're going to keep you on speed dial. First of all, because you spent many years here in the Valley, there are plenty of cases that we would love to get your opinion on for sure. And so now you're a criminologist with Genesis. We sure appreciate your time and hope we can call on you again in the future.
You can. You guys are my home team when I come back, and I watch the news when I get back to the Valley.
Oh, we're so glad.
Thank you very much. I enjoy your show.
Thank you. We appreciate that, Jeff.
That's the beauty of being on YouTube. We hear from people all the time who have some sort of connection to Arizona, but they're out of state, and they can still keep up on the news.
Absolutely.
By the way, speaking of the news, there's been some new developments in that just awful story coming in from Flagstaff, where the DPS helicopter went down, all in the pursuit of a suspect. And when you take a look at some of our reporting from earlier over this past 24-hour period, Megan Spector's report was just outstanding. And so we're going to go ahead and give you that right now.
12 counts of disorderly conduct, 2 counts of first-degree murder, and more. The charges Terrell Story is facing after a DPS helicopter crashed, killing 2 on board: the pilot, Robert Skanke, and the trooper paramedic, Hunter Bennett. The chopper was called in to provide aerial support for Flagstaff police after a domestic violence call on February 4th. Police say the suspect jumped from rooftop to rooftop, leading them on a 2-hour shooting spree in a Flagstaff neighborhood. The chopper was on scene to help police during the chaos until it crashed at 10:27 p.m. The Department of Public Safety says Story was shot by troopers but is recovering and is now being held on a $5 million cash-only bond.
All right, so there you go with Megan's report. And I did just want to mention that starting at 11 o'clock this morning at the DPS headquarters, we have,
Hi, Dave.
I am not calling up Dave's camera, you guys.
You know what, though, Ron? He brightens our morning. Look at that face.
I'm trying to punch the 2-shot of us here.
Can you go to cam 2, please?
Okay, we're, sorry about that. We're having technical
forever.
problems.
Everybody loving the Dave cam this morning.
Go, Brian. Go, Brian.
What about mystery camera, Ron? Does that work?
We could try that, Celeste.
There
Let's
we
do
go.
that. Okay.
Here's the thing. We are going to bring up the mystery camera. Some of you already threw in your guesses on this, but make sure you revisit that and throw in some more guesses because we waited a little bit. I know we've had some really big headlines to get to, some breaking developments in the search for Nancy Guthrie. We wanted to make sure that we got to those really important details and those interviews earlier in the half hour. But Ron,
we do have guessers.
Yes, we do.
We have people who hang on every 10-15 break every morning, and so now it's a chance. We'll get our camera situation resolved here in the studio. But, give us your guesses on where you think this snowy scene is, Celeste. You should take a look at it. You got any early guesses here? You can see it's kind of hill country.
It is hill country. There's snow.
Yeah. We did just report today that they had a bunch of new snowfall up in New England. So this might be there, but it could still be, I'm
going to go New York.
Are you?
I think so.
That's a pretty good guess.
Like upstate New York somewhere, maybe?
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think I'm going to go Pennsylvania. So we got a New York and a Pennsylvania. Of course, we want your guess as FTT continues.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so let's see. We have Low Philosophy with Ohio. We have Buddha Sheep, who's really a regular now, who's guessing New England, maybe up in Massachusetts, around Boston. But Linda's with you in New York, Celeste.
Yes, and then we have Paul Humphrey with the Massachusetts, Donald Thompson with a Kentucky.
And Brandon with Ohio. So you went New York, I went Pennsylvania. Ladies and gentlemen, here comes your
here
answer.
We go.
Where is it snowy like that today?
Where is the miss? Oh, I can't sing.
Yeah.
Altoona, PA.
Oh, it is PA.
Yes.
Da-da-da-da.
Altoona.
Let me just take a quick victory lap here, Celeste. Altoona.
It's like the Daytona 500.
Yeah. Pennsylvania really is. It's a beautiful, beautiful state. Did I ever tell you my great-great-grandfather, William Valentine Hoon, came out of Pennsylvania?
Oh, my gosh. His middle name was Valentine?
I know. I wonder if he was born on Valentine's
he probably
Day.
Was quite the charmer.
Oh, I'm sure he was. The ladies in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania in your early 1800s?
He was charming them, that's for sure.
Hey, you know what we've been doing here? I think we're doing a pretty good job of it, is introducing you to the main political candidates that you need to be aware of as we approach the upcoming vote here in 2026. And today we have a candidate for governor that we're happy to welcome to the microphones.
That's right. Barry Hess is here, Libertarian candidate for governor. Barry, good to see you, my friend.
It's good to be here again.
Yeah, lean on into that microphone.
Lean on into it.
Lean on in. Yeah. Let folks know, what does it mean to be a libertarian? What do you stand for?
Well, I think that we stand for everything that you would see in the constitutions. And that's where we are. We agreed to the Constitution rather reluctantly because it is the oldest political philosophy on this continent. Most people don't realize that. We were the anti-federalists. That's why we wrote the Bill of Rights and demanded it. That's why most of the Declaration or the Constitution was written by libertarians. It was pretty pervasive as a philosophy in the new colonies. And I think we've forgotten that. We've left it behind because the real term, like a libertarian, it came from the word liberal, which is amazing because now they've turned that meaning 180 degrees from where it was. It was a liberal was someone who liberally construed the Constitution in favor of individual rights. Pretty clear stuff. Now it's the opposite. I mean, we see what's going on with the Socialist Party, the Democrats. Well, they are. Reality is reality. And I think that I've become really kind of incensed with the attacks on the president, for crying out loud. I mean, a guy they've never met, don't know, and they listen to all the propaganda. It's amazing. And I don't support the Republican candidate, but I do support the presidency, and I'm pretty fed up.
The office.
Absolutely. I worked for Reagan, and that was a man who absolutely respected that office.
What did you do for Reagan?
I was a gopher. I was just in law school.
Okay, but still. What do you see happening in the state of Arizona today? When it comes to the major issues that voters are going to be deciding on here in the coming months, from the ESA program to beyond education, some of the other issues that we have in the state, from taxation to et cetera. What are some issues that you would get into office and maybe change the way it's currently being done?
Well, my goals, if I'm to have an agenda, it would be to completely eliminate the personal income tax and personal property taxes. I do believe they are theft. There is no justification other than the voluntary participation by people, and we all know it's a voluntary system. That's one of them. But what really disturbs me is we start seeing the Republican-Democrat fight. That's all you get. If you elect a Republican or a Democrat, nothing happens for the people. Nothing. It's just fights back and forth, calling each other names. I think as a libertarian, I offer a completely different perspective where I can take good ideas from both sides of the aisle without fear of any kind of retaliation. Because if they're both against me, I know I'm doing something right.
So you were talking about taxes, income tax, but you also would stand for getting rid of the property tax as well, right?
Personal property tax.
Personal property tax. How do we fund some of the things like schools and things like that, just to take the other side of the issue?
Well, I think a lot of it would be getting rid of a lot of the programs that are needless and many times foolish.
Like which ones?
Well, I think DEI stuff would be the first thing on the table to get rid of, because you can't go against biology and You can't go against what we already know as norms that took 5,000 years of history to develop, like roles in society. And now people want to disturb those. I think that's dangerous. But the real big issues become things like immigration. What do you do? And I think I have the best plan. And it's pretty simple. Whoever's here has 90 days to register, just so that we know, because we do have a right to know. And if they have any background that leads us to say we don't want you here, then they've got to go away. After 90 days, anybody not registered who is found would go away. I don't think that I would interfere with ICE when they could tell me they were going after actual criminals. Because
isn't that something that Reagan, I was very young when Reagan was in office, but in doing a little bit of history, isn't that something that President Reagan did? He allowed illegal immigrants who were here to become
the
legal.
Brissaro
Yes.
plan. Yes, he was a level-headed guy. I thought the world of him and still do. But I think we've got to settle this immigration thing because it becomes a racial thing. And that's not a good idea because any of us who claims to be of pure genes is lying to themselves.
Why can't a libertarian get above into double digits? We've seen in previous elections there maybe are people. My question I was about to ask you, are people too loyal to their party? But independents are now the largest group of voters. It's actually close between that and Republicans. But why haven't you been able to connect in the past, and you think this time you could?
Well, I think in the past what we saw was exactly what Trump brought to light, the media playing games. And it's happened here at Fox. I'm not going to go easy, but definitely with CNN, MSNBC, and the other clowns. But the reality is that it's the perception that we cannot win because we're not in one of the big two clubs. The funny thing is back in 2002 I ran, and after the election, there was a poll taken as to who was your second choice and why didn't you vote for them. I was 85% of the population, Democrat and Republican, and the perception of 90% of them was that I couldn't get enough votes to win. That was the only reason.
Okay. Let me just double back on the whole issue about education. And what's your attitude there? There's been some talk about trying to claw back some of the ESA funds where people have the school choice. Where do you come down on that one?
Well, I'm absolutely for school choice. As long as we have government schools, then people have to have a choice. And as a parent, you want to send your kid to the best schools, not the worst. And I think that makes sense. But I am an advocate of homeschooling all the way. I've seen the results, and I've known probably 100 different families and talked to these kids who are homeschooled, and they are the clear-eyed, answering questions, maybe a little more adult-like than regular kids. And I think that's really good for the country.
So you would allow the ESA program then to continue?
There would be parts of it that have to go away just because we want to concentrate on the fundamentals, which would be the basics, math, English, science, history. But I think more importantly than any of those is going to be critical thinking skills so that we can teach kids to be healthy skeptics. Don't believe what you see on TV unless you can verify it in some way. It just makes sense.
So would you allow it then for certain schools and not others? Would you narrow the list of,
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'd like to see competition amongst the schools. When I was a kid, we used to be able to say, my school's better than your school, academically, scholastically, athletically, and we could prove it because we had the numbers. Now all the kids can say is, my school's just like yours.
Okay, well, there you go. Barry Hess, thanks for your time. We've been reaching out to all the candidates. We finally got the Libertarian here, and we really appreciate everything that you've had to say today.
Well, I think that's a good thing for everybody to see all their alternatives, and I hope people have the common sense to really look at the Libertarians. Because we're the sober one in the drunk room, It's
the designated driver.
Well, and it seems kind of boring to many, but we believe in real education in real progress. And that's what I want to see for Arizona, some projects that we can do that can employ people, that get people happy and get the prosperity up. And part of my tax program, incidentally, is to lower the corporate tax to a flat 4% of the gross, no deductions, no offsets, so that we can go on, and that would force the legislature to concentrate on transactions, because there would be a transaction tax.
That's Barry Hess. Thanks so much for your input today.
Thank you, Barry.
I appreciate
for coming
it.
in.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Well, here's our poll question. You can grab that QR code. We want to know what you think with the decision now to end the surge in Minnesota. What are your thoughts here? 24% are saying it was a disaster. It should have never happened. 72% say, look, it worked. There were a lot of arrests. I agree with the president's call. 4% saying, hope they learned no more violence in the future. Isabella joins us now. And you, by the way, were kind of monitoring what Tom Homan had to say.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of breaking news. Just a few hours ago, he made a big declaration that Operation Metro Surge is officially coming to a close.
Here we go.
With that, and success that has been made arresting public safety threats and other priorities since this surge operation began, as well as the unprecedented levels of coordination we have obtained from state officials and local law enforcement, I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude. A significant drawdown has already been underway this week and will continue to the next week. We have a lot of work to do across this country to remove public safety risk who shouldn't even be in this country, and to deliver on President Trump's promise for strong border security and mass deportation. Law enforcement officers drawn down from this surge operation will either return to their duty stations or be assigned elsewhere to achieve just that. Prioritizing national security threats and public safety risks makes sense. But I'll continue to say over and over again, if you are here in the country legally, you're not exempt from our immigration laws. If we encounter you, we'll take appropriate enforcement.
All right, well, the surge did see over 3,000 federal agents in Minnesota starting in December. And I think, as we know in the news, this has been one of the most controversial and talked about topics the last few months.
Yeah.
And it is now coming to an official end, a close.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. When they called that news conference today, I think a lot of people were interested. They thought maybe, but it seems like he's only been up there, 10 days, would you guess? Maybe 2 weeks?
Probably.
And they're winding it down.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And Ron, do you want to pop up that poll one more time?
Oh, yeah, Celeste. Look at that.
We actually have, I just refreshed, our numbers have shifted a little bit. We have 2.1 thousand votes as of about an hour ago. And the surge was a disaster, 51% voting in that direction. So the percentages are about the same, but the numbers of voters have increased. More on this in just a moment. We're going to take a quick break.
All right, everybody. Here Syleste was just going through those YouTube. Man, people are fired up about this now. Syleste, we've never had a poll question that got more response than Greenland and what the plan is up in the great icy north there of Greenland. That we had 25,000 votes, but you're saying we already over 2,000 votes with people's opinions on whether the surge was a disaster. Which, take a look. Big D is right now updating for us.
2.2. So in the last
2 minutes ago, you said 2.1.
Yeah, I know. It just went up.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Okay.
And I love that Greenland is icy and Iceland is green, though. It's like, you know what I mean?
I know.
Okay, so let's go through these numbers real quick, and then we'll get to Big D. So the surge was a disaster, 51% voting in that direction, but not too far behind. The surge worked, 43%. Hope they learned. No more violence in the future surges. That's 6%. And 161 comments this morning. Let's go right to Big D. He's got more on some of these comments this morning. Hi.
That's right. You can comment on fox10phoenix.com/poll as well as on our YouTube page. Donkey Joe 4782 says, I'd love to see the real stats on how many actual felony level criminal illegal immigrants aliens were arrested. I'd wager it was not many. Guitar Memoir says, it cost the lives of 2 American citizens. The people who think it was a good idea need to give their head a shake and reorganize their priorities. Jim Barron, 8612, says it should have never happened because those illegal immigrants should have never been there in the first place. And finally, Barry and Heber says the negative effects would not have happened if people simply followed the rule of law and local government worked with federal law enforcement instead of against them. Really interesting comments here. We love hearing from you guys. Keep it up.
All right, Dave, thank you. And this is a reminder that our phone number that you can call, whether you have opinions on today's big issue, with the surge ending up there in the Twin Cities and ice, or maybe you have an opinion or almost a thought on what's going on in the Nancy Guthrie case, or anything else we discuss, we would love to get your input. It's a chance for you to give us instantaneous feedback, and then tomorrow we'll select the most clever one of them all.
Can we actually call? Because I'd like to call in and just say that you have a very nice suit on today, Ron.
Well, see, that's acceptable as well. 602-262-0428. Syleste, your story of the day today was amazing, quite fascinating.
Thank you. It was very fascinating.
Yeah.
So we've all heard about helicopter parents.
Yeah.
But now this new phenomenon is helicopter grandparents.
Right.
So it turns out there's a lot of grandma and grandpas, nana and tatas, abuelitos, abuelitas that are kind of jumping in on that, hey, I know what you should do type of thing, the parenting. And so this is kind of turned into a kind of a big deal. Grandparents are overly involved in their grandchildren's lives. Experts say there's nothing wrong with support from grandparents, but there's some big issues. I mean, you don't want mom and dad always looking over your shoulder, kind of trying to help you figure things out, micromanaging your life, but it turns out your grandparents are now doing it. And I did a little bit of a deeper dive, Ron. This is what I was sharing with you earlier. And I looked, these grandparents that are alive right now, they were actually the first helicopter parents to millennials.
Okay.
And so they are now.
This is the only way they know how to do it.
This is how they do.
But at the same time, we have, this is one of the complaints you hear from people in education is how do I get parents more involved?
Yeah.
Their kids are not they're not making the grade, and I need them to, dedicate more of their time.
Yeah.
So you have that end of the spectrum, and at the same time, you're like, if you're the parents, you got to speaking as a grandpa, you got to make sure that if you have ideas or whatever for your grandkids, you got to go through the parents, chat about it, and then maybe kind of take it from there.
Yeah. And I think that the world is different from when boomers were little, right?
Yes.
Like, there were no cell phones. You left the house on your bike in the morning, didn't come home until after the sun had set, playing all day with kids in the neighborhood.
True.
It's so different these days.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of, as a mom, sometimes I tend to be a helicopter mom.
Oh.
And so
what?
I know.
This is the first I've heard of this.
I mean, and you're not going to hear it again. So. But and I think you gotta hold yourself back. And now with my oldest, like I've had to say, I trust your boundaries. Like, okay, you want to do it that way. I love you, and if you need me, I'm here.
And yet the older kids are like, Mom, You were so much more strict with us. And now you're like, it's balance. I'm just trying to balance things out.
Yeah. Well, it's like my podcast I have. It's called The Balancing Act.
It sure is.
All of life is about balance.
I am so excited, Syleste. This is many, many years away for you still, but I am so excited for you to become a grandparent because I'll show you just a couple of pictures of grandparent life.
This is so great.
You know, my favorite hike is out there in the city of Apache Junction. It's called Silly Mountain. And let's see, which are the grandkids? I've got Mason and Riley and Avery and Ava and Everett. And we were up there. Anytime we get a chance, we love to go hiking.
What
but
a great photo.
Maybe one of my favorite pics of all time is me coaching little teeny itsy bitsy Stetson. Look, you can tell
Stutterbug.
Stutterbug. You can tell he's really honing in on what I'm having to say as we stand there in the park and I try to teach him what football is all about. It's so fulfilling. Yes, you have to do it within whatever the bounds are that the parents set.
Yeah.
But I remember a lady reaching out to me. So our oldest grandchild is about to turn 12. So this would have been like 13 years ago. And she said, you are going to be shocked at how much more room you had in your heart to love. And that really opened my eyes, and it's so true.
Yeah, so many. When I chat with people, I'm like, my colleague Ron, he always says grandparent life is the best. And they said everybody agrees, it absolutely is. Can we just go back to that photo really back?
Which one?
Stutterbug.
Okay. Yep, we got it right there.
His curls, I just want to kiss those cheeks and run my hands through his curls.
And look at his hands in his little pockets. He's like, okay, teach me. It's so great, but yeah.
Ron,
I mean,
what a blessing.
Yeah.
What a blessing is your whole brood.
You know, I'll tell you something else, Syleste. Here's a chance to, if you want to, join us on viewer voicemail.
Yeah.
What about all of this? Maybe if you were a grandparent and you have some opinions on, are grandparents too involved? Are they not involved enough?
Yeah.
Maybe experience. Viewer voicemail is the great new way. Of course, we want to know what you have to say on YouTube.
Yes.
But this is a great way to directly connect with us. Dave gets in there. He listens to them all, and then we'll choose one and we'll play it tomorrow on our viewer voicemail segment, Syleste.
So Linda Monter said grandparenthood is the best. We have 6. Buddha Sheep, awesome family photo. Great picture, Ron, from Steph Lacey. And we have a few people in here as well. Ron, I think it was Hope Haynes. She's watching from Miami Globe. I wanted to give her a big shout out because she says that she's been watching from the beginning every single morning. So Hope, thank you. We appreciate you hanging with us and chiming in the chat as well. If you're on TV, you can join us on YouTube. Go to Fox 10 Phoenix on YouTube. Go to the live menu. Click on that, and you can find our live video, and you can join the chat on YouTube.
My favorite comment so far is from Killicell. Did you see what he popped in there about a minute or two ago? He said,
let's see. Oh,
Ron is always fly. And so I try to tell this to my coworkers, Killicell. Sometimes they don't believe it.
Well,
so thank you for having my back.
The second I walked into the makeup room, I'm like, Ron, that's a really nice suit.
You are fly today. Dave, what are you cracking up about?
Man, you're the most fly. Nobody's more fly than Ron Hoon.
You're the most fly.
Okay, there you go. I got to talk to the promotion department. There's the new slogan.
You're the most fly.
All right, so Syleste, we do need to discuss messy cars because I'm afraid we all have them.
We do.
And look at this guy's car.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So we have what we call in the business file tape, but I didn't know it was that bad. Holy cow!
This is from like the 80s.
This is like a fixer-upper, and you know what? I don't know which car lot it's on, but they will make you a deal. Anyhow, Syleste, so the story comes in, and it's talking about it today, which is whether or not we all kind of what's the number? 1 in 3 people say they are flat out embarrassed by the state of their car. Crumpled papers, old coffee cups, floor snacks. In fact, 21% of people in the survey, Syleste, admitted they have old food currently on their floorboards. They know it's there, but they haven't taken it out yet.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my gosh.
That's dangerous in Arizona summer heat.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Keeping something like a piece of ham or bologna on the counter.
Don't you hate it when you went to the grocery store and you thought you brought everything in, and then you come back later and you're like, oh, I forgot the cheese, or I forgot the eggs.
And it's in the car.
And it's been 2 hours and it was 150 in your garage.
It's a goner.
Yeah. I don't know. I try to be better about it now than I was like in my DJ days.
Uh-huh.
But it's always been a little bit of a struggle. I'll just say.
Well, I mean, I think
How about you?
My car, yeah. I live out of my car. I sleep in my car during practices. I eat in my car. I'm on the phone in my car. Work in my car. I think as parents and probably grandparents too, you're carting the kiddos around. And you're just trying to find a bit of shut-eye wherever you can.
Let's do this. Let's put Big D on the spot right now. Dave, if we had a live camera, we could go out and view your vehicle.
What's in there right now?
What would the status be?
Well, we've got 2 car seats for the kiddos, and those are pretty messy.
Yeah, sure.
Especially the middle part in between them. That's where the snacks go.
Well, sure, of course.
So I'd say that's probably the dirtiest part of my car.
How often do you go take your car through the car wash?
Not that often.
Yeah. Once a month, maybe, something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
I pay for one of these places where you get unlimited washes.
Oh, yes, I've seen those.
I try to go do it on an almost every day. No, hold on, not every day. I meant to say every week. Definitely not every day. But it forces you, because you're paying for it, and you go through the slosh, and then you come around the side and you start vacuuming. I mean, it forces you to at least once a week try to clean up.
Well, sometimes I don't have time even to go through the car wash.
Yeah.
I just run in and vacuum stuff up. Like
Good for you.
Something like falls.
Yeah.
And my dad gave me this spray that I sprayed and make it smell better.
Look at Brandon. He's like, do not look inside my car right now. Hey, you know what? That's something else you could talk to us about on viewer voicemail.
Real quick, Ron.
Yeah.
Paul Humphrey, I just have a new granddaughter. So congratulations to you.
Congrats, Paul.
Yes, and Hope Haynes, again, she says, I have all boys and recently became a grandma of my first baby girl. It is the best. Oh, that baby girl, she is going to be loved on.
Hey, by the way, that is so great. We love it. We call it the Friendliest Chat Online because people join and they realize what a welcoming community we have.
Yes.
And we're going to make sure that never changes. Hey, before we say our goodbyes, Syleste, I'm so happy that Krispy Kreme has already announced their plan for tomorrow. I don't want to scare anybody, but tomorrow is Friday the 13th. They're going to give away 13,000 glazed donuts. Spooky. They're going to be awarded in the form of a coupon to be randomly given out to customers at stores around the country throughout the day tomorrow. And then it will be redeemable with any purchase over the next 13 days.
Wow.
Brilliant, right?
What a great way. It said lucky in love. Is what it said up there.
Correct.
There's nothing like a hot donut.
Yeah, man, we're lucky.
Just warm.
Yeah, we're lucky in donut eating. That's what we are.
We got a lot of great spots.
We got a lot of them. All right.
Thank you all for watching and for chiming in on the conversation. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.
Welcome on in. We're going to continue things rolling here on Fox 10 Talks. Now at 11, another day that we are going to continue to talk about what's been going on with the Nancy Guthrie case today. Now day 12.
Day 12. We had some new developments yesterday afternoon. A glove was found about 1.5 miles down the highway, down the freeway roadway from Nancy's house. And then today we have been looking at newer images, more images of this person, this of interest, this subject of interest, and also information coming out that a big tent has been set up in front of Nancy Guthrie's front door.
So it was only there for a matter of hours.
Right.
They set it up and now it is cleared. Do we have access to Edge 2? Ronnie, so I can pull up that live image in front of her house.
Thank you.
We're going to pull up a live image for you so you can see the front of Nancy Guthrie's house as of this morning. But our reporter, Danielle Miller, was out in the Catalina foothills again this morning. She has been covering this for us for quite a while. So this is the picture in front of Nancy Guthrie's house, live picture here this morning. And again, they did have that tent out there earlier, and now they have since taken that down. So what were they doing in that tented area?
We don't know yet.
We don't know.
Yeah. I know that they're getting thousands and thousands of tips, and ever since the information, the video has come out. So we wanted to bring in our next guest to talk a little bit about what could potentially be happening legally, what could be happening. They detain a person of interest, Josh, and then they question this person and they let this person go. Talk a little bit about what detain means.
Yeah, so detain is different than an arrest. When you detain somebody, you need to have what's called reasonable suspicion, and it's a little bit less than a probable cause is what you need for an arrest. So if I give an example, let's say you have a cookie jar and you have you walk downstairs with your wife and you see a bunch of cookies on the ground, and you have 2 kids and 2 dogs, and you know that one of the 4 took the cookies.
Okay.
That's reasonable suspicion.
Okay.
Now, probable cause would be, okay, you come back downstairs, but you only have a 7-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter. And you come downstairs and you see all the cookies on the ground, and you know that your son has done this before in the same exact manner, but you don't know for certain. But it gives you probable cause to talk to him and read him his Miranda rights.
Gotcha. So the guy basically talked to the media right after, basically saying, I have no idea who Savannah Guthrie is. I don't know what the Today Show is. I've never had any interaction with the Guthrie family. I mean, legally speaking, do you think it was smart for him to talk right after the media, basically saying, look, it wasn't me. I have no idea who these people are or what was going on?
Because whoever detained him, Pinal County Sheriff's Officer, FBI, never put his name out. So he is the one who came forward and said it was me.
Well, I think that the media, as savvy as they are, would have found out who he is anyway. There's media camped around the entire city of Tucson right now. And I think that if you're clearly innocent, it may be better to get ahead of the story. Because if you don't, the public perception is going to be, well, what is this guy hiding?
Sure.
So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, unless he does have something that he's hiding.
Yeah. Josh, you mentioned something I think is so interesting to point out. It has been 1 week since we have heard anything from any officials from the FBI or from the Pima County Sheriff's Office. If you look on Twitter, you look on Facebook, you look on any social media, there are just
countless number of videos.
Well, people are kind of jumping to conclusions.
Sure.
I saw something. It was at next to Annie Guthrie's house. They're like, look at this person. They are moving boxes from inside their house to outside. It's like, what if they're just moving? What if they're doing spring cleaning? Like, I feel like it's kind of at a fever pitch where I feel like maybe they need to come in and say, look, this is what we're still working on. This is who we've ruled out. What do you think?
We also, if I can add to that, have a lot of those people on social media saying it's not adding up.
Exactly. And, I think that you kind of have to look at what's happened in historical context. So, there have been a number of what's called KNR kidnappings. That's kidnapping and ransom situations over the last century. You have one group, which is purely based on a motive for money. And that would include Frank Sinatra Jr., the Getty family, and the Lindenberg baby. And in those 3 situations, it was formulaic, where the kidnappers contacted directly the family, and they were able to build up rapport and exchange money for the hostage. Then you have the other situation, which is done either for ideology or for a spectacle. And I think of JonBenet Ramsey, the JonBenet Ramsey case. You had a note that really took the attention away from everything, and it was the spectacle itself. And here you have two notes that were sent to not the family, but the media. And you have to ask yourself, well, why would they do that? Well, they want it in the media. They want that to be the story. It doesn't follow the formula of being purely monetary based. Now, I know another thing to point out is that, the first 10 days, everybody was certain this was a professional job. And then everything changed when we saw the video of that doofus-looking guy who seemed like he was a caricature, almost like a parody. And the issue I have with it is this. If we really do believe that it was a professional job, and there's a lot of reasons to think that. They didn't leave any evidence. They haven't been caught. It looks professional. Well, wouldn't it be in the professional's back pocket to try to deceive us by having some doofus-looking bad guy out there, make it look like he's not military, he's not this, he's not that. So it kind of narrows the investigation. If you're certain that it's not professional, you're going to stop looking at professional people. Also, why are we calling this a kidnapping? We don't know that she wasn't murdered in her house. When you call it kidnapping, you narrow the focus of your investigation. You're attributing motive when we don't know the motive. We have no idea whether she was actually kidnapped, whether the notes were real, or unfortunately, if she was murdered in her house.
Let's talk about this surveillance video, because this obviously made a big splash and brought a lot of new attention to the case. So many people are making so many speculations about this surveillance video. What does it mean for the investigation and a potential suspect or suspects? Because now they think they're looking for that person.
Yeah. So you can look at it in two ways. One, that this person is not acting with the intent to deceive. And if this video is real, it's pretty fair to say that this is probably not a professional job. If you look at the location of his firearm, it's right above his crotch area. And
who does that?
Yeah, especially every man I can speak with experience is going to protect that area, and you just don't do that.
My photographer and I were in the car, and we were literally talking about that. He said no man in the world would carry his weapon that way.
No, even a layman you would think wouldn't.
Put it in his pocket.
Yeah, or on the side or something like that. Especially going to a tactical situation inside of a house. And if you look at the gloves, they're so bulky that you wouldn't be able to get your fingers around the trigger. So, again, it looks very amateur the way he's doing this, and ill-prepared. You didn't bring duct tape or any type of tape to put over the camera itself. But then you can also, one thing that I really liked about this video is that you can tell the body type and the height and the width of the person approximately, because you can measure the archway and then kind of zoom in and see about how big he is, maybe the eyes. But that's about it. Obviously the clothing you can identify as well, which could be helpful if you find it later on.
Josh, I wanted to ask you about the other note that was sent to TMZ. Was it yesterday? Now, my days are all mixing together. The letter basically sounded like an extortion letter almost. I would imagine that if FBI can track that person down, they're probably looking at potential charges, right?
Yeah, the issue with that letter, and this was somebody who says they know who did it, and they want one single Bitcoin.
$65,000.
Yeah, I'm going to direct their attention to Silent Witness. There's a $50,000 reward.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
But could that be because if you call and Silent Witness says you remain anonymous, are they afraid they won't remain anonymous?
They wouldn't. Silent Witness isn't silent. It just means that you don't have to testify if you don't want to. And even that isn't ironclad. So there is that issue. So maybe the person does want to remain anonymous. But, with Bitcoin, it's just you can trace from one wallet to another how much was sent and who potentially it's going to at some point or another. Like in this case, that's one of the red flags that I saw with the supposed ransom demands, was that they wanted Bitcoin as opposed to some other monetary measure, because you can see where it's going to, let's say wallet B from wallet A. And if wallet B ever spends that Bitcoin anywhere else, you can see which wallet goes to. So you can trace the money, and eventually the money will go to a wallet that is publicly known, and you can then identify who wallet B is. And the FBI does this all the time. So it doesn't seem like the currency that you'd want to use. There are other cryptocurrencies that are much better than Bitcoin if you want to remain anonymous.
We've got about 3 minutes left. I kind of wanted to sum this all up. I mean, I just watched a documentary about the Elizabeth Smart abduction, and it seemed like law enforcement were so quick. They wanted to try and get someone and basically tie it up in a bow. You mentioned the John Benet Ramsey, kind of the same thing. It was kind of like a rush job to have a bow on it to be like, it's over and done with. Do you feel that the Pima County Sheriff's Office and maybe even the FBI are feeling pressure from the media and the community?
Oh, without a doubt. And I think of this case as, I think, more similar to the Bryant Kohberger case in Idaho, where, we were all kind of thinking, the Idaho Police Department is, not doing this and not doing that.
They're screwing up the investigation.
Yeah, and we were, micromanaging or at least, looking back, playing Monday morning quarterback every single day. Why is the Pima County Sheriff going to the U of A basketball game? But in reality, the Idaho Police Department was, doing a very good job. And they were working hand in hand with the FBI and eventually caught Brian Kohberger. And I really hope that's what's going on behind the scenes here. Now, we have, some of the best people in the FBI work in this case. We have the CERT unit, CERT. These guys have like masters and doctorate degrees in electrical engineering, and they know how to look at the digital data like nobody else in the world. And if there's any digital trace that these kidnappers or killers left, the FBI is going to find it.
Do you think that
actually it's interesting? So, with the Google stuff. So, Nancy Guthrie had a Google Nest camera, but she didn't subscribe to keeping it. But apparently, Google still keeps all the data anyway.
Which is also
Note to the user or the audience. And so the CERT team from the FBI went in with a subpoena and got all of the data from Google, and we're able to pinpoint the exact footage that is necessary to catch the guys. It's really amazing what they were able to do with the data.
Great. We'll have you on again, I'm sure, to be talking about this and hopefully more developments and even a solution to all of this.
Yeah, we appreciate your time. It's always nice to just bounce
it really
questions
is. It's
off of someone that knows.
Thank you so much,
we
Josh.
It.
Sure, thanks, guys.
All right, quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes, you guys.
Okay, welcome back in, everyone. Our next guest, Eric O'Neill, is the author of Spies, Lies, Cyber Crimes, former FBI spy hunter. Eric, good morning to you. We initially booked you because we wanted to talk about Valentine's Day scams, but we do have to have you weigh in, of course, if you're following any of this, and most of the nation is. What is happening in the southern portion of Arizona, Tucson, with the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping case?
Yeah, I am certainly happy to talk about that, Anita and Ty. It's good to be on the program. What's happened so far is that right now the FBI continues to try to pursue and find a person of interest. What they have in now is a video that was recovered from Nest and Google. So what happened was we had a video camera that originally, if you remember, the sheriff said, we can't recover any video because Nancy Guthrie didn't have a subscription. It turns out you don't need a subscription because the way that this technology works is the camera records and sends it to the cloud, which is Nest's cloud that's owned by Google. That lasts there until it's overwritten. If you don't have a subscription, they don't save it. But it has to hit the cloud. Otherwise, when you try to see your camera with your app on your phone, it wouldn't show anything. So apparently what they were able to do is find that data, reconstruct it, and get it out there. And that's why we now have images of this individual that are being fed into the FBI's next generation identification system, which will give us a composite of the face. And you correlate that with tips and telemetry from cell phone towers. And that is why the FBI is now trying to run down persons of interest who may or may not be the perpetrator in this crime.
Eric, I think a lot of people are used to watching CSI, all of those TV programs where they solve a crime in 30 minutes and it's over and done with. And I think maybe folks are kind of getting a little bit worried that something is not happening in this particular case. But obviously you have experience in this. So walk us through what might be happening behind the scenes.
Certainly, Ty. It takes time. It takes a lot of time in real life. Real life is never like the movies. The movies don't want you to sit there for 3 weeks waiting for an action in the case, so a break in the case. So here what happens is it takes time to find that data that is sitting on a server somewhere and reconstruct it and bring it down. It was not set to be saved in a certain area, so they had to do that search. That took these 10 days. It takes time to get the information from the telecom companies to pull information off of cell towers. There was a report that came out this morning that it's possible one of the criminals, and they think that there was the guy at the door and then maybe another in a car, might have had their cell phone on them. If they do, that could be golden intelligence if it was turned on, because the FBI can track your cell phone every time it pings a cell phone tower. It doesn't give you like the precise location, but within a certain area. So that can give them more leads. But this takes time, running this all down using a mosaic of technology plus good old-fashioned investigative techniques is how they're going to find this person.
Pretty incredible. Great feedback. Thank you. Let's talk about those Valentine's Day scams. I mean, it's an easy time of year to feel lonely, to want to be in love, to want to have a Valentine. How are people getting targeted?
Well, cyber criminals never miss an opportunity to prey on people. And Valentine's Day is when people, as you said, exactly, Anita, they're lonely and they're looking for connection. Romance fraud is a growing crime that really got its legs under it during the pandemic when people were thrown at home and were desperate for that connection. And cyber criminals have taken that to the next level using AI deepfakes. What they do is they create a complete profile of a fake person. We call it an avatar. It has this person has a backstory. They create images, and what they do is they learn about their target. And they normally look for someone who's lonely, someone looking for connection. They love to prey on people on dating apps. And this person that isn't even real says all the right things, looks the exact right way, and they get their target to fall in love. There's something called love bombing. So this is a technique you can use to see if maybe your paramour online is really a cyber criminal. Love bombing is when really fast after you meet this person and you start feeling attracted to them, they start saying things like, I can't live without you. I've never met anyone like you. I love you so much. I want to be with you forever. In real life, people don't do that fast. It takes a while before someone will even say, I love you. So that's a trick. The other, of course, is urgency and privacy. these fake romances, the cyber criminal will want you to keep private. They don't want you to take a step back and breathe, and they don't want you to phone a friend. They don't want you to ask a friend to look over your shoulder, because that skeptical person might say, this isn't real. You've never even met this person. And urgency. They will find some crisis that only you can help solve by sending money. Right? Never send money to someone you've only met online. Make sure you've met them at least in person. And it'll usually be like, I'm in the hospital. I can't pay my debt. I don't have enough money to pay for the plane to come see you. And then they say, send it in a wire, or send it through gift cards, or send it through cryptocurrency. And that's another big tell that you're being scammed.
All right. Where do people get your book? How do they get more information from you?
Certainly, I spend 2 chapters talking about these impersonation and confidence scams in my book, and everything else you need to know to protect yourself. It's called Spies, Lies, and Cybercrime. It's available everywhere books are sold. And if you liked my voice, you can get the Audible version. I recorded it.
Awesome.
And you can find it at www.ericoneal.net.
Well, thank you, Eric.
Thank you. We appreciate your insight today.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to you both.
Okay, lighter topic.
Yes.
It's so heavy these days.
We need to lighten it up.
Yeah,
you know what clears your mind?
Running. For
26.2 miles.
Okay, let's do it.
We have our new friend here. This is Phil Dumontet. He is the CEO of Brooksee, one of the organizers of the Mesa Marathon. Good morning.
Are you a runner?
I am a runner as well, though I'm not running on Saturday, producing this event. So we're excited. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. Are you guys running?
No, I gave up on running a little bit.
I ran one half marathon, and let me tell you, I was like, that was a great accomplishment. I'm never doing it again.
At least you ran a half marathon.
I know.
My knees can't handle it anymore. Tell us about the Mesa Marathon and what's so special about it.
Absolutely. Well, this is our 15th edition, and this will be the largest Mesa Marathon in history.
Wow.
And we're seeing just tremendous growth across the board. We have over 30% more runners from Arizona this year.
Really?
So it's a real home state celebration. It's one of the fastest courses in the nation, over 1,000 feet of elevation drop on the full marathon.
I like the sound of that.
Yes,
Not
exactly.
That means you're running downhill, folks. You're running
runners
downhill.
love it. We'll have Olympians out this year running it. Looks like we'll have perfect weather, about 48 degrees at the start. So we're very excited.
Phil, you mentioned that you were seeing more people wanting to get involved. Why do you think that is? I mean, it is such an accomplishment to be able to run nonstop 26.2 miles. Is that why people are doing it? Because they want kind of, I guess, an accomplishment in life?
It is. I think I always view running as this kind of identity transformation. When you finish a marathon, you become a marathoner. It's that celebration, and it kind of upgrades your identity. It's a huge source of pride. So we're seeing huge tailwinds in our industry across all of the events over at Brooksee. And we're continuing to see runners join from across the board. We have all 50 states this year, 20 countries.
Wow.
And folks love getting out and start moving. It feels good.
We just had the Phoenix Marathon, the rock and roll.
We're the producer of Phoenix as well.
Awesome.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
So are we seeing then, because obviously there's been so much growth here, are we seeing more marathons, more local marathons popping up, like a Mesa, like a Phoenix, like a Chandler?
Yeah, so Phoenix is new this year. Mesa's been going on for 15 years, but we are seeing more and more new runners come into the sport. That's largely driven by run clubs, ready-made friend groups, right? You get out there, enjoy running. It's more fun when you do it with one of your friends. So across the board, we're just seeing more and more runners come into the sport. And of course, that all trickles down to the events across the board.
I was going to ask you, since you obviously have done this before and you're kind of entrenched in this world, if someone is watching, they're like, you know what, I would love to get maybe back into running or start for the very first time. What do you recommend for folks? Because you can't go out there and expect to be running 5 miles in your first time out. So how do you is there training programs you would recommend, or what's like how do you start?
Yeah, great question. I would start by just finding a friend, finding an accountability partner, finding a run club. And we have training programs on our website, mesamarathon.com. I always suggest just starting small, starting with a 5K. We've got 4 distances this weekend on Saturday.
Oh, perfect.
We have the full marathon and the half marathon. But we also have a 10K and a kids 1K.
Oh, cool.
So we'll have over
I would do that
kids
one.
running.
Yeah. Is there an age limit?
Is
there an age limit?
So starting small, and that's your entry point, making it accessible and be able to really enjoy it. and then you can grow from there.
You both have accomplished running half and probably many, I'm assuming, marathons.
He's fortunate.
How many?
I've done 17 marathons.
Holy cow!
Makes my knees hurt just listening to
all
that.
in the United States or outside of the country?
All over the world. I've done the World Marathon majors. So London, Tokyo, Berlin, Boston, Chicago,
cool.
New York. Yeah.
Oh, good for you. What, I guess, is that end goal, that final feeling of exhaustion, maybe a little bit of pain, but when you're crossing that finish line and you finally make it and you see it?
Personally, I was like, thank God it's over.
That's what you say, but then you catch the bug and want to register again.
And you're ready
that
to go.
runner's high is
True.
real. So
I did
What does that
a
feel like?
half marathon in Boise, Idaho, and it was called the Zeitgeist.
Okay.
And I probably should have read a little bit about the Zeitgeist half marathon before
course.
I signed up, because it was literally uphill for I swear 8 miles, and I was like,
what am I doing?
Everything's burning. My lungs are on fire. I want to quit. But I didn't.
Ours is downhill again, 1,000.
Okay, see, I might be able to do that.
Got a recovery zone brought on by Honor Health this year. A lot of exciting new initiatives, and the fans on course are so great, and the Mesa Marathon's great for that too. New this year, you can send cheers and shout outs to runners on course running with our app.
That's cool.
So you'll actually see that on the Hoka breakthrough zone.
That's
so it gives you that
cool.
little extra motivation when you need it to keep pushing. And we'll finish up at Riverview Park, which is a great finish venue with a lot of spectators out there. So you need your friends and your supporters to get out there.
Yeah, you do.
To push you through.
Absolutely. I think we're seeing a big push, get the kids off the phones,
Unplug.
We're really definitely, I think, in a health and fitness type of
mindset.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not just because we're coming off New Year's and those resolutions, but I think people are finally getting back to what was. What's old is new again.
Exactly.
So
pendulum swinging back.
and that could be possibly why you're seeing more registration.
Exactly.
Are you seeing different age groups? Is it more of one generation versus another, or across the board?
Gen Z is the biggest driver of our race growth right now. So under 30, specifically women as well, actually. So across the board, we're seeing growth. The half marathon is the most popular distance in the U.S.
I was going to ask you which one was going to be the most popular. Okay.
And that's still obviously an incredible accomplishment. But it is not that full distance of the marathon. Less than 1% of the world's population does a marathon. So it's an incredible accomplishment. But you can still start with that 5K, 10K half and full. But Anita, to your point, it's just a celebration of movement. You feel so good afterwards.
Yeah, you do.
And it makes you want to do it again.
Yeah.
We've got about 30 seconds left.
Sure.
Are there still registrations? If folks are like, a minute left. We have a minute left.
Yes.
Are there still registrations open?
Absolutely. I like to say run, volunteer, or cheer. So however you want to get involved in the Mesa Marathon, there's always an opportunity. We have over 11,000 registrants this year, the biggest in history. You can still register by going to mesamarathon.com. You can come volunteer. You can come cheer our runners on. So plenty of ways to get involved and experience the Mesa Marathon
Pretty
this year.
cool, yeah.
All right. What are your, we've got 15 seconds, your favorite type of shoes to run
I
in?
literally was going to ask your favorite running shoes.
Okay. Of course, a proud partner of Mesa
there we go.
Marathon as well.
Well, Phil, it was nice to meet you. Thanks for coming in.
I need to appreciate the time.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.
11:30 now. Ron and Des spending the next half hour with you on Fox 10 Talks. For those of you who have not been a part of this before, it's a 2-hour streaming show on YouTube that we have folks watching from all over the country, really and around the world. And so there is a place, Des, as you can see right here, where life is moving along pretty nice and slow. That's actually up in your home state, though, of New York.
Is it New York?
It's Montauk.
Oh.
And when I first looked at it, I thought, maybe Florida, but I guess it's a little chillier than you think. And now that I look at it, I believe over to the left, that's still a little piece of floating ice. So, I mean, there are definitely places that are still cold, that's for sure. And yet we have had such beautiful weather. Your day's been going pretty well so far, Des?
Yeah, going pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Where was I? My gosh. Short-term memory loss here.
Right.
Peoria Center for the Performing Arts. They're on stage right now as a chorus line.
Okay.
And where was I before that? Oh my gosh. Okay. Camelback Ranch, Glendale.
Oh.
For Cactus League.
Yeah.
Season opening.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. Excitement.
I'm like, hang on a second.
I know. It's so crazy. I mean, the football season wraps up and boom, we start talking about baseball.
Yeah.
At least in Florida and here.
And they did suggest if you want to go to spring training, like the best time to do that is catch the games early on. It's like the first couple weeks is when like ticket prices will be the best because after that we see a lot of folks coming in to visit, obviously, the Valley, enjoy our good weather.
Right.
So tickets do tend to go up a little later in the spring training season.
Sure, yeah.
So that was like a little tidbit.
Really good. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about this. This is such an emotional release. And it came out, well, let's see, about 3 hours ago this morning. Just a couple of hours, actually. So Savannah released the video of her young mom, and it's so cool to see her there as just a young mom with her 2 little girls, Savannah and her sister Annie. And, judging by the look, red bricks, that might still be the very house that she's in today. I'm trying to figure that out, but it could very well be. And so that came out this morning, and it was on her Instagram page, which is where she's been releasing a lot of it. And so far, it's been so stressful. It's been messages to the kidnapper or kidnappers.
Well, and I want to read her. I'm going to go to her page right now. I want to read the caption that she left on the video. Because I don't know, when I read it, it just kind of sent chills, down my arms here. She said, "Our lovely mom with a yellow heart. We will never give up on her. Thank you for your prayers and hope." I mean, you just feel the desperation there.
Yeah, you do. And I would imagine, law enforcement is sharing information with them that they're not quite sharing with us yet. And so we don't know what the family knows, but I think she feels like, okay, it's time now for a tribute to my mom and a life well lived.
Mm-hmm.
So what we thought we would do is bring in a criminologist who specializes in kind of, I don't know if you want to say CSI. That's probably an overused phrase, but we've all watched and we've all learned that there are so many ways now that you can hone in on an investigation. So let's bring Deborah Stonebarger in. Hi, Deborah.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us today. So I just want to read a little bit of your background. So you have extensive background fielding a lot of different areas, but field investigation, laboratory leadership. You have an expertise in forensic science, DNA and biological fluids at crime scenes. So what do you, first of all, just your overall thoughts of this case and what investigators have found so far?
Well, the findings have seemed to have been somewhat minimal so far. My overall thoughts, other than, I do have some sympathy and understanding of processing of a scene like this and this going on for as long as it has been going on. but this has provided, I think, a challenge to some of the local resources in Pima County. I think that they weren't anticipating the scope of the possible crime scene. And so I don't think that they were necessarily prepared in this case to deal with some of the evidence or what they saw at the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you see law enforcement, the FBI comes in, they have a lot more resources, whether you want to call them more professional than the local deputies, et cetera, that are on the scene. But did it seem to you like they wrapped up that crime scene? I mean, within a day, you could just literally walk right up to the front of the house. And now there seem to be searches after searches. What might be unfolding here that could have been missed the first time around?
Well, it is problematic that the scene was cordoned off initially and then released too soon, and then somewhat cordoned off again. However, we've seen that even as of today, people have been able to approach the door, or maybe that was yesterday, able to approach the door that shouldn't be able to get past crime scene and personnel of, whether it's investigators or laboratory personnel that might be there to help process the scene. So I believe that a primary problem with this, or I'm sorry, I should say a potential problem with this is just letting it go a little too soon. I think that there might have been an assumption made that maybe they didn't realize the potential for violence or a potentially violent crime, or that it was against the will and that her will, and that it could expand to the degree that it has. I do think it's interesting that they have expanded the search to include the glove or gloves, depending on which source I look at, that may be similar to those used in the video that you are showing of the possible subject or suspect in this case, and that they're processing that perhaps along a roadway where it has been known for subjects who kidnap or commit other crimes, to be honest, as they're driving away from a scene, they may be discarding items of evidence, getting further away from the scene as they go. I do also think oh, go ahead.
And Deborah, I want to ask you about that glove. Let's say it's somehow connected, right? If this were potentially belonging to the suspect in this case, what DNA could be left on the glove? I mean, if it sat outside for so long, what DNA could it still have?
The ability to recover the wearer DNA from inside is substantial. I would not consider it to be problematic at all, even being out in the elements, because it would be they would be trying to extract it from the inside. So looking for sweat and cellular material from whoever was wearing the glove primarily on the exterior of the glove. It's also possible that there could be other DNA, whether it be belonging to a suspect or the victim for that matter, if it made contact with the victim. Additionally, on the exterior of the glove, there could be fingerprint evidence as well.
Why do you think there wasn't a trail of blood? I mean, we've seen several droplets, which they have confirmed were Nancy's blood at the doorstep, but it doesn't seem like it leads anywhere. What do you make of that?
I think that if she was bleeding, I think that they were able to, since it doesn't appear to have led to a car specifically, like it wasn't a lengthy trail. I think that it's possible that whatever the source of the blood was, it was, I mean, the easiest thing is it was probably covered up so that she didn't continue to bleed as she moved or was moved away from her home.
And, we had a former Phoenix police lieutenant who then went on to become a police chief with years and years of experience in Fort Worth, who joined us last hour. He said, just observing, as a criminologist, as you are, and I understand your specialties in DNA, but what are your main takeaways? His opinion was that it just did not look like a kidnapping, that kidnappers know who they're going after, that they arrive on the scene, they move very quickly, they move in and out, and that was really the opposite of what we saw. Now that you've had a chance to kind of step back after seeing all the various videos, what kind of an opinion have you formed?
It's a little hard to say at this point, but it certainly doesn't have an amount of forethought that you would expect if you're going to plan to kidnap someone, especially someone who is a high profile, and that does appear. I mean, I think the video surveillance that they released does say a lot, because I mean, that person wasn't anticipating a Ring doorbell camera or similar, and so there's. I think that there might have been some level of planning, but it doesn't necessarily have to do with kidnapping, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with ransom. It could have been what started off as a robbery or breaking and entering, and then something else happened to change that situation.
Mm-hmm. And Deborah, we only have about a minute left, so we'll wrap it up here pretty quickly. But overall, sometimes, we hear in cases it takes a while to get DNA results back, and testing takes longer than I think, folks would hope. But obviously in this case, would they be doing all of this DNA testing kind of on a more rapid speed type timeline to get results back sooner than, you maybe would in a typical case?
Absolutely. In a case like this, I would expect that there would be actually analysts on the clock, around the clock, which is not typical for, an average agency crime lab. It's an 8 to 5 job with the occasional, crime scenes. In this case, I would expect there to be analysts present around the clock, including supervisors, and they have to have the ability to run multiple instruments. They also have to have the ability to review it with a technical reviewer before they can release anything. And so I would expect supervision and rapid DNA analysis, but still maintaining quality.
Okay, and are they even there on site? Your quick answer. We got 5 seconds.
Not DNA analysis on site.
Okay.
No.
Okay. All right, Deborah, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Mystery Cam.
All right, we will take your mystery cam guesses, but first, let's go straight to the White House. Just coming in now, President Trump is speaking. This is reportedly on climate change, and he's just been up to the microphone. Here's Lee Zeldin.
Under President Trump's leadership today, the Trump EPA has finalized the single largest act of deregulation in the history of the United States of America. Referred to by some as the holy grail of federal regulatory overreach, the 2009 Obama EPA endangerment finding is now eliminated. This action will save American taxpayers over $1.3 trillion. What that means is lower prices, more choices, and an end of heavy-handed climate policies. With today's announcement, American families will save over $2,400 for a new vehicle. 16 years ago, an ideological crusade within the Obama administration set off the most costly regulatory power grab our country has ever experienced. The 2009 Obama EPA endangerment finding led to trillions of dollars in regulations that strangled entire sectors of the United States economy, including the American auto industry. It claimed new powers over the vehicles we drive, even though the best reading of the Clean Air Act clearly states otherwise. The Obama and Biden administrations used it to steamroll into existence a left-wing wish list of costly climate policies, electric vehicle mandates, and other requirements that assaulted consumer choice and affordability. And who paid the biggest price? Hardworking families, small businesses, millions of Americans who just want a reliable, affordable car to get to work, take their kids to school, or go to church on Sunday. The endangerment finding and the regulations that were based on it didn't just regulate emissions. It regulated and targeted the American dream. And now the endangerment finding is hereby eliminated, as well as all greenhouse gas emission standards that followed. The red tape has been cut. Manufacturers will no longer be burdened by measuring, compiling, or reporting greenhouse gas emissions for vehicles and engines. And the forced transition to electric vehicles is eliminated.
It's all coming straight from the White House this morning. So that was the president talking about this major change. Then Lee Zeldin, they're talking about how EPA changes could reduce costs in terms of what people have to pay to buy a new car. And we know those prices have really never been higher. Kind of a cool shot, Des, from the White House. Still a kind of a windy, breezy day. I don't see a lot of people in line to go see the Washington Monument today.
No, maybe a little chilly,
It
right?
might be a little chilly. Although for a Buffalo girl like you, this is nothing.
Oh, yeah, no
You're
big
like,
deal.
give me a break. There's 4 inches on the ground.
But
That
I've been
is
here,
nothing.
5 years now? I'm probably soft. Yeah, not gonna lie.
Yeah. Oh, hey, by the way, since we got the White House shot up there, I'll just remind you our poll question this morning, has to do, no, we don't have it either place. That's no problem. But you can certainly go to YouTube and we can show you exactly how that poll is looking right there because of the ice surge. What do you think? It was a disaster, saying more than 20%, over 70% say, look, it worked. I agree with Trump's call that it's time to wind it down. Okay, so those are kind of the big headlines when it comes to the world of politics. But, Des, let's focus in a little bit more. We're going to step away from politics now and talk about bread and butter issues that we all feel, because either we're looking for a home or we want to sell a home, we want to buy a house, people are renting, you got family members trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, it affects all of us.
It does. I mean, and you see a lot lately, too, of the next gen houses that have, a suite attached so you can live with grandma and grandpa or mom and dad. So it's definitely interesting. And we're talking to senior economist this morning, Kara with Zillow. Good morning.
Hello
Thanks
there.
for joining us. Hi. So Zillow celebrating a big milestone, 20 years, and you guys analyzed a lot of data, since you started in 2006. What are some of the most startling things that the data uncovered?
Gosh. So about Phoenix specifically, one of the most surprising things about Phoenix is that affordability is actually a bit better today than it was 20 years ago in Phoenix. Now, that's not to say Phoenix home values haven't risen. So since 2006, Phoenix home values are up over 50%. But in those 20 years, incomes have also risen. And so if you look at the percentage of income you would spend on a monthly mortgage payment, including like housing costs, like taxes, insurance, back then you spent 42% of your income on monthly housing payments. And now we're spending close to 33%. So while it doesn't feel great because it's still somewhat unaffordable, it's much more reasonable than 20 years ago.
Really interesting. And yet we just saw the government reported today one of the biggest drops in home sales. I know we feel like we live in a bubble in Phoenix because people are always moving here. The economy is always hot. But in terms of national trends, what's happening that's slowing down the market?
Well, a lot of the slower housing trends are sort of in the rearview mirror. We think that 2025, it had a few headwinds. One, we had economic uncertainty, and then also job growth was basically flat. And we know the number one reason people move is for a new job. But going forward, what I expect for 2026 is that everything sort of rebalances. We know at the very, very end of 2025, we saw a lot of people on the sidelines. When mortgage rates dipped a little bit, people rushed in. But we think that there are more people on the sidelines waiting for the new housing market, housing season to start in 2026, and we'll see how that turns out.
And so would interest rates, I don't know if you've done an analysis on this or not, but, they're currently running right around between 6 and 6.25. The president's pushing to get those mortgage rates down. Obviously, we're headed into an election year. Would even a half-point drop, for example, or a third of a point, anything along those lines, make a dramatic difference?
Well, mortgage rates have been range bound. The 30-year mortgage rate has roughly been between 6 and 7% for a while now. And so anything breaking below 6, I think, could psychologically unlock a lot of buyers. So we think that inflation is still kind of sticky. Job growth is cooling, but not dramatically. And so if it was just based on those two factors alone, between 6, it's hard to break the 6%. But of course, if there are other policies that can push down the mortgage rate, that could potentially unlock demand.
Mm-hmm. And did your data analyze, too, how long homes are now sitting on the market? Obviously, that's something we cover a lot. And it seems like here in Phoenix, homes that are for sale are sitting on the market just a little bit longer than they have, certainly, obviously, since COVID and 2020. Did your data reveal anything as it relates to that?
Sure. So you're exactly right. Homes in Phoenix are sitting long on the market, and that's true about most metros in the U.S., and that's a good thing. So I don't know if you remember the heyday of the pandemic, but you would show up and there'd be, the whole room would be packed in an open house, right? That wasn't a sustainable way to buy a home, because buying a home is a long-term financial decision. That's where you're going to build your family, and you don't want to be pushed in a situation where you're forced to make a rush decision on the spot. So really, homes are sitting longer, but that's a good thing. We want buyers to have more time to consider the choices before jumping into this long-term financial commitment.
Have there been some red-hot markets where prices they've really pushed the envelope, where you're seeing maybe some weakness now in some city names that might surprise us?
Ooh, gosh, that's a good one. What I can tell you is that overall, across the U.S., prices have moderated. That means that if they were booming before, they've sort of softened. If they were neutral before, maybe they've dipped a little bit, they've fallen in value. So that's sort of across the board, I believe. And I think that just has to do with more homes being available for sale. And so the moment you have more homes available for sale, you're able to have greater negotiation power for your home, and prices can come down a little bit or not rise as fast.
Well, I think during the pandemic, we all just got hooked on Zillow. I know I did. I would go there once a week just to see what's going on.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Surfing on Zillow is all the fun of 2 scoops of Rocky Road ice cream without any of the calories. So I completely understand.
All right, yes. Kara.
Thank you, Kara.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, I love window shopping on Zillow.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm with you 100%.
One can dream.
Hey, by the way, there are some developments coming back out of Washington. I did say, Des, that we were going to step away from politics, but boy, there have been a couple of big ones that have just come in, including this judge's ruling saying that the Trump administration trampled on Mark Kelly's First Amendment rights.
Yeah, they say blocking Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's efforts to punish the Arizona senator, who is a retired naval officer. The judge did speak on this, and the judge says, quote, rather than trying to shrink the First Amendment liberties of retired service members, Secretary Hegseth and his fellow defendants might reflect and be grateful for the wisdom and expertise that retired service members have brought to public discussions and debate on military matters in our nation over the past 250 years. And that is from U.S. District Judge Richard Leon.
Be interesting to see if that's the final word in this drama that's been playing out there between one of Arizona's senators and Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War. Okay, so that's happening. Now, back here locally, we did want to just give everybody an update on a story that we've been following since literally the hours after it happened. We are learning more about the suspect facing charges in connection to the death of a pilot and paramedic in that DPS helicopter crash. Investigators have now identified their suspect, 50-year-old Terrell Story, who is facing 49 felony counts, including 2 counts of first-degree murder. Now, the reason we wanted to be sure to mention that is we want you to know that the Department of Public Safety is, as we speak, hosting a huge barbecue fundraiser event. It is happening both in Flagstaff at their offices and Kingman, and here in Phoenix over there at about 19th Avenue and in Canto. It started an hour ago and will be going for the next couple of hours.
Yes, it'll go until 3 o'clock today, that one here in Phoenix. So if you are local and maybe you have time or you're in the downtown area or know someone that works downtown, to stop by and grab lunch and, support those fallen officers.
Des, we're just about out of time, but there's one order of business we need to get back to.
Yes, I know.
Which is the mystery cam.
The mystery cam. So much going on today.
Yeah.
It
no
is.
Kidding. Okay.
Do you want to guess real quick?
Well,
We've got,
let's see.
40 seconds left?
40. Oh, the clock is ticking.
30?
Des. The
30
pressure
seconds.
that I'm feeling. I'm thinking it's somewhere in New England. I think I'm going to go Massachusetts.
Oh, it's Westchester, PA.
Oh, there you